Hey, this is Steve in Dallas, Texas. It's Saturday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
Coming to you direct from New York City, this is Dennis, and you are listening to Light Talk.
And this is Ellen coming to you from the beautiful island of St. Bart's, and today we have a very special guest joining us on Light Talk.
And this is David coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shore neighborhood of Long Beach, California. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers
and Sister.
That's right, Ellen. Welcome, everyone, to episode 442. And today, we have a very special guest on our show. Please, everyone, welcome our friend and fellow podcaster, Marcel Fairbairn. Is that correct? Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Oh, Marcel's actually blowing kisses.
Okay. It was unbelievable. Wow. You couldn't have said it better.
Well, it's because I'm drunk right now. So
yeah, me too.
Okay.
He'll never say it again.
I want to tell you all a secret. Marcel is actually Canadian.
I am, and I'm in Canada as we record this.
Which part of Canada?
So I'm from Calgary, but I have a house in Banff, basically.
Such an ugly place. It's like the ghetto of Canada.
I
Banff.
know it is. I spend the summers up here and the winters in Wellington, Florida.
Wellington, where's that?
Palm Beach, West Palm Beach.
Oh, okay. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, really? And you don't know Wellington? Wellington, they call it the cold weather equestrian capital of the world. It's the polo and dressage and show jumping and all that stuff happens.
I'm sorry, but you're not allowed on the show. That's much too high class for us.
Well, I am the poorest guy in Wellington, so I will.
Yeah, Marcel also has a son who does car racing.
I
really?
do. Yeah, I do.
What, Formula One, stock car?
Formula One is a little outside of our industry's ability to sponsor, but no, he's been doing Formula cars. Right now, he's pretty much not retired, but he's benched because his main sponsor pulled his funding on him. And, it's just the more you move up the levels, the more expensive it gets until you get to either Formula One or IndyCar, where they generally start to pay you. And, we just ran out of guts and money by the time we got a couple steps below that. So yeah, now he's coaching and working and doing other things, becoming an entrepreneur.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, not at all. Let's tell our listeners a little bit about Marcel, because, Marcel is like a giant in the industry. It's pretty amazing everything he's done.
He is. He's a lot taller than me, that's for sure.
Can I come back on this podcast next week, too? You guys are so
Yes,
kind.
you may come every week if you want.
We're mean to our guests on my podcast. You guys are so nice.
And we're going to talk about that a little later.
All right, go.
Well, Marcel Fairbairn joined the live events business as a working musician in his teens. Realizing he loved the business more than the music, he honed his selling skills in music retail, selling musical instruments and eventually sound and lighting systems. It was then, in the late 80s, when he was pulled toward the lighting biz, eventually ending up with Martin Professional in Miami in 1991. Rising up through the ranks with Martin, Marcel led the business, becoming responsible for many benchmarks, including introducing Martin to concert touring and professional rentals. Later, Marcel became a minority owner in Coamar, along with their USA partners. In 2002, Marcel founded GearSource.com with a vision of establishing a safe platform and secondary markets for B-stock, discontinued, and used lighting, sound, video, and staging gear to move around the world. Today, GearSource.com is the leading global marketplace for used live events gear. In 2018, Marcel created Geezers of Gear, a podcast for and about the live events community. Discussions with key industry individuals about their lives and stories, their travels, mistakes, wins, and much more. Oh, and a little about the gear, too. Geezers of Gear has been an innovator in creating an audience for company owners, key industry players, lighting designers, FOH engineers, managers, and anyone with a story to tell their story. Today, Geezers of Gear is the largest and most popular podcast in the live events industry, and Marcel continues to innovate in that space. Wow.
Jeez.
Thank you.
Welcome
Wow.
to Light Talk.
Good
Well, I
God.
don't know about the largest and most popular
I
podcast.
thought that might
We'll
cause
leave
a
that for
problem.
another time.
Yeah.
I also have a little quibble with geezers. What does that make us, David?
We're all
dead.
geezers.
We're beyond
Oh, yeah, that
geezers.
what is the official geezer age?
Well, Eric Loader called it 50. And so I invited Eric Loader.
Oh, my
I
God.
invited Eric Loader one time on my podcast, and he said, nope, 6 months, call me back. I'll be 50. And
Oh,
so
hilarious.
he defined it was 50. But I mean, we've had guys in their 20s, we've had girls in their 30s, we've had everyone. So it's
it's an
it's a
attitude.
name and an attitude. It's not an age. It's not an age. However, Dining with Dinosaurs that we do with the lovely Ellen at LDI is we've kind of set the benchmark there at about 60. You got to be at least 60 to be a dinosaur. So
I think you've got one junior dino with Seth Jackson.
I don't know how old Seth is. He's just one of those guys that hides his age and you never really know.
Well, it's hard for a 20-year-old to say, I remember when.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of dining with dinosaurs, I have a little quibble with that.
Okay.
We were not invited. And we are about as geezer as you get.
Oh,
We're
you weren't
dinosaur.
invited.
We're like
Dennis
Yeah, but the
Tyrannosaurus
dinosaurs are all the dinosaurs are all industry pioneers from concert touring.
Oh,
Primarily.
I didn't know that. Okay, so just concert touring people.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, now I have another question about your bio. It says you started out as a musician. What did you play?
So another interesting story. So at the church that I went to when I was a kid, there was a little, paper up on the wall that said band looking for a singer. And I was with my mom and I said, well, I can sing. And she says, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I'm going to try out. And I went and tried out for the band. They rehearsed in the basement of the church, but they were a rock band. And so I got the gig and I was the singer in this band. And to pay for their rehearsal space, we did a weekly thing on Saturday nights called the Rock Mass. And it filled the church with kids, like standing room only with teenagers. And it was, so the priest who was our manager, this is a crazy story. The priest was our manager. His secretary was a German lady. And she got all these German heavy metal songs and converted, they were heavy metal religious Christian songs, and they were converted to English. And that was the music that we played in this rock mass. And then we went out and did gigs in high schools and community centers and stuff like that. So I was in 6th grade at the time when I started with them. And I was signing autographs in 6th grade, with older women who were like in 7th grade or 8th grade, and so yeah, it was a really fun time. But
Listen, I gotta warn you, we do have standards on this podcast. We can't talk about anything like older women and young boys and things like that. All right, so let's try to keep it clean.
That's Light Talk After Dark.
Yes, we have a special Light Talk After Dark for that. This is not an After Dark show.
But one day the priest shows up at our rehearsal and he fires our bass player and he grabs the bass guitar, which he owned or somebody owned, hands it to me and says, okay, learn to play it. Our next gig is in 3 weeks. So I had to learn to play an instrument and 40 songs in like 3 weeks. So then I became a bass player and singer. And then, I don't know, as I got a little bit older, I stopped being sort of the front guy singer and I was a bass player and background singer or whatever. And then I just realized my bar tab was more than my pay. I was earning $200 a week and my bar tab was $250. And so I went and got a job and that was it for my professional playing days. I still have guitars, but I don't really play them anymore.
No. Well, just to tell you, I've been a musician since I was 13 years old, and I'm still playing in bars.
Oh, wow.
And I'm still making $100 a night.
Good for you.
I made $100 a night in 1970, and I'm making $100 a night in
That's hilarious. That is so funny. What do you play?
I play keyboards.
Okay.
And I see that you sold equipment. You know what's in my back room right now, Marcel?
What's
you
that?
probably know what this is. There are 2 Mellotrons in my back room.
Oh, my goodness.
Original
really?
Mellotrons.
What are you doing with those?
What do you mean, what am I doing with those? I'm playing with them.
Do you use them or you're just collecting old stuff?
They're going to make a comeback.
They're a collector's item.
Yeah.
I got a Vox Continental. I've got a Gibson G101.
Oh, wow.
I'm a nut. I'm crazy. And I'm
That's
playing
very
in
cool.
2 bands now. So, yeah.
Good for you.
So you sold musical instruments in a
I
music
did.
store? Is that
Yeah. That was my first real job, was the store that I was buying most of my stuff from. I went and worked for them and became a sales guy. Worked my way up to become a partner, opened a new location for them at like the ripe old age of, I think, 19 or 20 maybe. And then I learned what being a minority partner meant and that it wasn't, I got screwed basically on the deal. And and then went on to basically work through some other larger music stores that had sound and lighting divisions, and I started getting interested in sound and lighting because instead of selling $1,000 guitar, I was selling $100,000 sound system, and I went, wait a second, the math works way better here.
Much more lucrative.
Yeah, and so this was right around the time that Martin's RoboScans were starting to get pretty popular in the nightclubs and stuff, and this was like their very earliest entry into the RoboScans, and I worked for a company that was Canada's largest. I became Canada's biggest sales guy of Martin RoboScans. And through that, I got to know not only their North American distributor, Gerard Cohen, but also Peter Johansson, the CEO and founder of Martin. And long story short, I ended up in South Florida working for Martin.
What was Tracoman first?
It was Tracoman, and then Martin bought Gerard out and bought Tracoman.
Oh, I see.
And then I ended up working for Martin for a short period of time, and then left because there was just some weird stuff going on in the company, and I felt like I had to leave or I was probably going to go to jail. And so I left, and I think you have to be careful when you're working for a company whose CFO is named Bent.
I'll remember that. Write that down,
Right.
kids.
Yeah, he was a great
Right.
guy, by the way. I will add that Bent was an unbelievable guy, but it fit some of the stuff that was going on at the time, I guess.
So I remember a great party at LDI. I think you must have still been at Martin in 95.
I did it.
At Penrod's. I know you did
yeah.
it. We had the bar that's now called Nikki Beach.
Yep.
Was still called Penrod's.
Yeah.
And we had Casey and the Sunshine
Yes,
Boys.
Casey and the Sunshine
I
Band.
think that was my first real awareness of
Yeah, so a couple of really funny things happened at that event. One thing was that a very big person with very big influence in large lighting sales for big concert tours or whatever came up to me and said, hey, I need something for so-and-so lighting designer. And I'm like, oh man, like, what do you want me to do? I've already had about 8 drinks and I've got 50 people answering to me because it's my party. And, come on, you got to take care of them. And, I guarantee you'll get lights on this next blah tour. And I said, let me introduce you to the event planner, who was a woman, and she can probably help you out. And he goes, okay. So I bring her over. And she goes, what do you need, drugs or girls? And he goes, both. And I'm like, guys, what are you doing? Like, what are we doing here? What are we really doing here? So then the other funny thing was at the end of the night, so we had drink coupons that we were giving out to people for that party. There was an estimated about 6,000 people at that party. And we were giving out drink tickets. And for the overflow, I had a tab going at the bar inside all night, like from, I don't know, whatever time it started, 8 o'clock until midnight or something. And so the event planner comes up to me at like 11:45 and says, Marcel, the manager's getting a little nervous. Can you take care of the tab? And I said, sure, no problem. So the manager brings me over the bill, and I look at it, and it's like $32,000 or something. And so I'm like, oh, Jesus. And so I go up to Peter Johansson, who's having a conversation with someone. And I say, Peter, do you know who John Broderick is? And he goes, no, who? And I said, right over there. He's the lighting designer for Metallica. And he goes, oh, wow. And I said, can I borrow your credit card? I need to buy him a drink. And so he gives me his American Express card, and I go hand it to the manager.
$32,000.
So then they bring him back the thing to sign, right?
Right.
And he looks at it, and he looks right at me, and he goes, what the hell is he drinking? Yeah, that was funny.
Oh, that's a great story.
Yeah, that party was,
It was a great
tremendous.
party.
The lighting was terrible. Like we just couldn't get it together on the lighting, but the party was amazing.
That was
fun.
in Vegas, right?
No, it was Miami Beach.
No, Miami.
Oh, it was in Miami.
Yeah.
Were you involved when we first started using? I used to do that show at the First Baptist Church of Fort Lauderdale, and we moved. And I think the very first year I went in and did that show, I lit that show. We used all Martin stuff, and I think Martin had just come to Fort Lauderdale back then. Were you there at that time?
I don't know. What year was that ish?
Oh my God. It was like 1992 or something like
I would
that.
have been
It was
there,
a long time ago.
I don't remember the show, but
yeah.
I would have been there.
Oh, it was fun. We were using PAL 1200s.
Yeah, I was there. There's some funny stories around that too.
I know.
Yeah. A lot of funny stories around the PAL. So, another thing, without bragging, I actually named both the Mac and the PAL. And both of them were Peter Johansson basically coming and saying, okay, Marcel, I want you to start a contest for $1,000 for anybody who names this light fixture. And I said, well, what is it? And he goes, it's like an automated profile. And I said, okay, let's call it the PAL, Profile Automated Luminaire. And he goes, perfect. And I said, where's my $1,000? And he's like, no, that's not for you. That's not for you. Yeah.
You put it on the $32,000 tab that you
Yeah. Take it off the tab. But
take it off the tab.
I mean, those were such great days, though. Like, I will tell you, I've always been more of an underdog than, I always felt like it was easy to sell Cyberlights against our RoboScans or whatever. I enjoyed being the number 2 or number 3, looking up and going, oh, if I could only beat those guys, although I've never really tried being on the top. I would like that too. That might be fun. Being on the top.
The PAL was a great light. It had shutters. It had shutters, and that was terrific. The mirrors didn't stay on, but the shutters are pretty good.
But the light weighs more than you, David.
Oh, yeah.
You also don't want to keep the shutters closed for very long either.
No.
Because it burns holes through the dimming shutters.
You will start a fire.
But, so when the LDI that Ellen's talking about in Miami Beach, we hired Peter Morse to design a show. And I don't know if you remember, but he had all those cyclists doing flips and all kinds of things as part of the show. And near the end of it, there was a choir that were RoboScan 518s. There was like a gospel singer, and then the background choir would go, and it was a bunch of RoboScans with gowns. They had gowns on them.
Oh
I still have the
Costume
video
budget.
from that, Ellen.
That was great.
So
that was great.
Yeah, it was just but the PAL part of it. So we hired this guy that was like a circus clown performer, and we hired him, and he had these brushes. Like, you had a beam on the drape before the whole thing opened and exposed the entire crazy show that we had going on. But on the drape, he had a circle, and he would go up there with this feather brush, and he would go like to dust a corner of the circle, and a shutter would cut in, and people just went, because there was no moving light with shutters at that time, right? It was the first. And then he would brush it a little more. And long story short, it ended up being a square about this big on the curtain. And it was just such a great way to show a light with shutters. Peter was such an innovative guy for creating a trade show booth. You couldn't afford to use them every year, but
best booths at LDI, I thought, back then.
Yeah.
I mean, Martin had the best shows, and they had the best parties.
Yeah. There were a couple
I went to
good parties.
every one that I went to LDI.
Yeah.
When they allowed me in. I'm now banned from all Martin
Ah, geez.
for good reason.
I'm sure they'd let you in. Their parties are boring now anyway, so.
You're right, they are.
Does anyone have parties at LDI anymore?
No.
Like,
I hear upstaging does.
upstagings is amazing. I've been fortunate enough to be invited every year to upstagings, and it's pretty incredible.
All right, speaking of LDI, let's talk a little bit about what's happening at LDI this year, because you guys are doing something really cool. Now, first, I got to tell you, I did listen to your show this past week, your episode, Marcel.
Beautiful.
With Ritesh Patel.
Yeah. The guy crazy enough to take on Ticketmaster.
I am going to say right now to our listeners, listen to this episode. It is one of the most interesting episodes of a podcast I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Because he talks about how Ticketmaster works. It's basically about the economics of live events.
Yeah.
And how difficult it is for people to put on. Because he does it. He's not Ticketmaster. He's a smaller guy.
Yeah.
But he's still putting on these festivals and smaller concerts. That story he told about the volcano was amazing.
Yeah, I know.
My God, I was laughing and crying at the same time.
He's an incredible guy. Really cool guy.
Yeah, he seems very interesting. Wait, is he Australian?
Well, he's Indian, but I think he's British. but he's Indian.
Yeah. Anyway, really interesting guy. And if you don't know about the concert industry and how it works, I mean, the whole story about how these tickets are bought up by bots.
Yeah. The Taylor Swift tour was just such a story as far as the math on the tickets. Like the highest priced ticket for Taylor Swift's tour last year, Eras, or 2 years ago, whenever it was. But the highest priced ticket was $449 for floor seats. And so it was like the Super Bowl for ticketing, for, secondary ticket markets. They were buying up as many as they could get their hands on. Bots were buying them. And, you're 10xing your money on those or more. Like those were selling for $5,000, $6,000, $10,000, the floor seats. And the lowest price tickets were $49. Can you imagine anyone having paid $49 to see Taylor Swift? Like it just didn't happen.
Crazy.
So that was a big windfall for these brokers, but it just showed how big the problem is too. It was a great microscope for how big the problem is in the ticketing industry. Because none of that money went to Taylor Swift, none of it went to Ticketmaster. It all went to the secondary guys.
Wasn't the government going to try and fix it at one point?
So many people have tried and failed. It's, like Bruce Springsteen, or was it Bruce Springsteen or somebody else who said Billy Joel, I think it was, who said he was going to get rid of scalpers. And you just can't. I mean, they have thousands of these bots that are just out there buying up these tickets, and you can't stop them. It's really, really difficult. So
it's only vaguely related, but someone told me that like in places like New York City, the bots are getting all the restaurant reservations the second they open at all the fabulous places. And then you can pay like $1,000 or $1,500 fee to the bot to get the reservation.
Yeah.
What was that story about Hamilton, Marcel? Remember they talked about Hamilton, or maybe you did?
Yeah.
About they bought up like the first 6 months of
all of
Hamilton
the tickets,
performances?
every single ticket. Yeah, within a couple of hours, they bought all of the tickets. These brokers.
Is that why the ticket prices are so ridiculous?
It is, yeah. Because
exactly.
I didn't know that.
Well,
Holy.
Ticketmaster and the artists are trying to be cool about it and trying to, although, Ticketmaster's not completely innocent here. They did create this thing called dynamic pricing, which pretty much allows them to charge whatever somebody will pay for something. So if somebody's going to pay $5,000 for the first 6 rows of Bruce Springsteen tickets, they'll take it, and then they split that money in some way with Springsteen. In this case, neither one of them gets the money, which pisses them off, of course. So they now want to combat these bots and these secondary ticket companies and brokers and stuff. So it's a real problem, because at the end of the day, the fans aren't getting to see the artists, and that's not going to last forever, because the rich people will get bored of going to see Taylor Swift. Then what? And so yeah, I think it's a real problem.
Yeah. Anyway, listen to this episode, everyone. It's terrific and very educational. But the reason why I brought that up is because you were talking about obviously Dining with Dinosaurs, and which is a second-year event, I believe, right? Is this the second year you're doing it?
Yeah, it is. So just to give you a little background on it. So a gentleman named Scott DeVos was on one of my podcasts, and Scott has been in the industry a long, long time, in the touring side of the industry. And during the podcast, or maybe it was on a break or something, I can't remember, but he said, I love some of the stuff you guys are doing. I think Geezers of Gear should do an event somewhere. And I said, yeah, I've thought about it. It's too much work. It's too expensive. People don't want to travel. Like, what for? And there's no money in it. And he said, yeah, I just always thought it'd be really cool to like get a bunch of people together and have dinner, and you got the crowd, you got all these old designers and old production managers and stuff. You could even call it like Dining with Dinosaurs. Bing, my spidey senses went off, and I said, that's it. And I said, well, instead of doing it completely independently and trying to pull people in and make them travel and find a place to do it and stuff, I said, I'm just going to contact my friends at LDI and see if they're interested, and we'll just do it with them. And And I reached out to Ellen, and I thought Ellen was going to go, "Are you crazy? We're going to call these people dinosaurs?" And Ellen was like, "Oh my God, I love it." And I was shocked by that. And she said, "Well, I'm going to take it to the rest of the people, and I'll come back to you and let you know what they think." And I'm like, "Okay, we're doomed now. Like, they're definitely going to shoot it down, right?" And they loved it. And I was like, "Really?" She said, "Yeah, they love it. We want to do it." And so the problem was two things. One, we didn't have very much time. I think this was like a month before the show or something. And secondly, we had no idea what the hell we were going to do. Like, we didn't know, what is dining with dinosaurs? Well, there's got to be food because it's called dining. And then there's got to be old people because they're just dinosaurs. So, I mean, the first thing we did was reach out to some people and said, "Would you be a dinosaur?" And everyone loved it. Like, again, I thought this was going to be problematic, especially when we started asking women. Like, no woman is going to want to be called a dinosaur, right? Are you joking me? They loved it. And so it just kind of fell together. Again, it was mayhem. We didn't know what we were doing. Ellen was very helpful because she's done this a lot of times. And although it wasn't super, super organized, we had enough people there to make it interesting and make it like where it was like, okay, this is going to work. But also, I mean, I looked around the room at one point and it was a who's who. Like, you had every major touring person that I could think of that was at the show was in that room. And it was just, it reminded me like of a Parnelli's crowd, almost smaller, but like, and I know that they're a competing trade show, competing entity, whatever, but it was really a who's who. So we went back and had a conversation with Jesse and Ellen and the team and said, "Do you guys want to do it again?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, I want to go bigger, because I don't like to do things small if you can go bigger." And so we came up with some ideas on how we'd go bigger. And one of the first things that happened, and I don't remember, Ellen, honestly, if it was you or Jesse, but someone said, "We want to do it on Saturday." And I was just like, wow, that will be incredible. And because there's nothing to do on Saturday and everybody's just going to go to the bar at Resort World or something. So I think it's a great day to do it, great night to do it. And so it just all really started coming together quickly. And then I think Ellen and Jesse came to me again and said, "We want to do a daytime event too. What do you think of doing like some kind of a training thing, like a little mini training sessions or whatever?" And I can't even remember the list of names that we had, but we had about 20 different names. And then again, it was probably Ellen. I'm making her sound like a genius, but somebody said, "Why don't we just use XLive? We already own it and it's not doing anything right now." And it was like, okay, that's it. It's called XLive. So we now have these sessions, XLive, the concert sessions during the day. I think it starts at 9 and goes till 5 or 5:30. And then just after it, there's a little, change of room and we go into this Dining with Dinosaurs thing. And so the daytime XLive is training. So it's actually, you're going to go through their sessions and you've got some unbelievable people involved. Ellen can give you the list, but unbelievable major people in the touring industry involved. And then Dining with Dinosaurs really is just legends of the industry who aren't there for training, but they're there to tell stories and to just guide folks on their career and to just laugh and to, whatever it is, it's just really rubbing shoulders with some of the legends of the industry. And I will tell you, we've got a waiting list on Dinosaurs this year. Like, everybody wants in on this thing. And so, yeah, it's going to be a fun day.
It really was a fun event last year. Marcel's playing it down a little bit. I mean, it was really successful. It was really great. And at one point, Marcel said to me, "I don't even think people are eating the lunch. They're all just talking. And of course, there wasn't one taco left at the end, not a scrap.
I didn't think
of
anybody
one.
ate. Maybe it was because I didn't eat
No,
much, but
they all managed to eat and talk, and it was amazing. And like Marcel said, people that were not dinosaurs found their way to that room anyway.
Yeah.
So they were all there. So that this year we moved it to dinner, and Marcel actually, I don't know if he remembers, but he actually came up with the idea for the daytime events because he said to me one day in passing, "You guys don't do enough about concert touring." And I said, so let's do it during the day and then segue to Dining with Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So
So
at first, Marcel wanted to call it Sin City Sessions.
I did.
And Jesse and I liked it, but the bean counters didn't like it. Because they thought if we ever move someplace else or want to take it on the road, it would be too linked to Sin City. And somebody along the way said, yeah, that's the seamy side of Vegas, and we don't want to be that. So we did play around with a lot of different names.
I cried a little.
We've got
I cried a little.
Yeah, it was
I
fun.
like that.
Embrace
We
it.
can always
Embrace it.
I
damn
liked
it.
that
we
name.
can bring that back some other time for something else. But we could always do a Sin City session as part of the day next year.
Yeah.
And had Vegas people on it. But in any case, through Marcel, got to Jake Berry, who is the be-all and end-all of production managers in the concert touring industry.
Yeah.
The Rolling Stones, among 50 other acts. And he's our sort of creative consultant, main moderator, along with Marcel for this day.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about Jake is Jake was actually involved, I think, for the first couple of years for another event called Conference something. And so he knew how to put something like this together, and we leaned on him pretty heavily, even though it's a completely different type of event and it's all around LDI and the crowd that'll be there at LDI and stuff. But the other thing is that I love that LDI has pushed really hard for, and Jake also pushed hard for as well, is it's really around young people mostly. It's young up and coming people in the industry, just putting them in a room with legends, with people who, they don't have access to most of these people, where they could just hit them up on LinkedIn or Facebook and say, hey, can I have an hour-long conversation with you for free? So, this is going to be a really great opportunity for these folks.
Yeah, we have this young career professionals program at LDI, where if you're between 18 and 25, you can get a full conference ticket for $199. I think it was $149, $199 when the prices go up. And we decided to include the X Live and Dining with Dinosaurs. So they're getting like a $500 experience thrown in with their conference badge.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Because we all felt that it was really important to really, foster that.
I think you're going to see a
generation.
bunch of 40 and 50-year-old people with these young conference badges and fake names
No,
on
they
them
have
and
to
stuff.
show their ID. They have to show their ID at registration.
Chris
but-
McMean will come walking in with a full conference young professionals thing on.
That's hilarious. But no, I think it'll be really fun and really successful. And it's, we did love it. As a matter of fact, last year it was not a month before, we had at least 5 months probably to pull it together. But about 3 days before the event, I was just sitting upstairs and I said, oh my God, we need stuffed dinosaurs. I want one on every table to give to the dinos. So I looked up and one of our operations people was there and I said, hey, can I order 20 stuffed dinosaurs on Amazon and have them FedEx to my room overnight? And she goes, yeah, sure. Here's the credit card. So we had these really cute dinosaurs. And this year we're going to try to get a little keychain or Marcel, there's these wonderful rubber dinosaurs. You put them on your finger and you pull the tail and
oh man,
it goes
that's war.
Flying
that's
across
war.
the room.
Send me the link. I'm going to buy 1,000 of those. We're going to start a food
Love
fight.
that.
We're going to start a food fight in there where everybody's shooting them.
Right.
No, I completely love it. And the other thing that we're doing is we came up with an idea to have a single award every year that we're going to give. Right now, it's called the Golden Dino, but it could change to anything. We don't know yet. We've come up with all kinds of crazy names for it. But one person that is just, a legend in the industry and someone that we want to, just pay homage to. And so I reached out to Joel from Apollo, who also has a complete fabrication company and engineering and manufacturing and design company. And I said, you've got 3D printers, right? And he said, yeah. And I said, can you make me golden dinosaur bones that I can give away for a prize? And he said, of course. And so yeah, he's making the dinosaur bones for us to give away as the trophy or the handout to the dino winner. And
are you announcing the dino winner in advance, or are we going to surprise them?
I think we have to announce it in advance so that they're there. We'd like them to be there, obviously.
Right. Well, I would assume it would be one of the dinos.
We have someone in mind. We just haven't got confirmation on whether or not they're going to be there. So we're waiting on that.
Oh,
If
okay.
we are
All right.
able to get it to this person, I think it'll be very fitting. So
Okay.
yeah, it's super fun. I'm so looking forward to it. I mean, I'm a small business entrepreneur, and I have to be very careful how much time I dedicate to things like a podcast and dining with dinosaurs and stuff, because next thing you know, it's a full-time job, and you're like, oh, but what's happening with sales? We're losing sales. So
But that's why you have a wonderful producer who, like me, lives on an island.
yes, she does. Yeah, Sarah lives on Crete in Greece.
Crete?
She's actually in Pisa today. She went to meet her mom in Pisa. So they're hanging out in Pisa for a couple days in Italy.
Yep. I got a picture of the tower leaning over before.
Yeah. Yeah, I said, make sure you get this one, where you're holding the tower from falling down.
Oh my God.
The one that everyone on Earth has. You gotta get that. Yeah. So
And she started her own sort of subsidiary podcast, which I just did the other day,
Yeah.
Leading Ladies of Nonsense.
yeah.
Leading ladies of nonsense? Is that really
No,
nonsense?
it's not
I
what
like
it's
that.
called. But
Yeah. I look forward to hearing that one. I haven't, I can listen to it in the background, obviously, but I just haven't had time this week. It's just been insane. So,
well, it's sort of this same conversation. We really didn't talk about me so much as mostly talked about LDI.
oh,
so.
okay, cool. No, I'm glad you're talking about that, because I think it's going to be big. Like everyone I know that I'm talking to is like, I've been asked for more tickets to this than I have for any show that I've ever had lighting on. I think, people just keep asking me, can I get a pass to this Dining with Dinosaurs thing? And
And you tell them www.ldishow.com.
no, I give
Get it
I give
right
them your
there.
mobile phone number is what I do, Ellen.
Right. Oh, no wonder.
So Ellen,
Yeah.
three passes.
Three what?
For us.
Huh?
There
for
you
your,
go.
For your family. For
There's
your
no
damn
comps.
family.
There's no comps. It's $109 a person.
No, we'll
Dinner
pay
and
for
drinks
it.
included.
We just want to get in.
Dinner and drinks included.
What's wrong with $109? We can afford it. Look, Dennis works for a gigantic network. He does the Super Bowl, okay?
There you
Right.
go.
He's making more money than all
And
of us
Steve
together.
is on a university per
He's
diem.
on a university I'm on a university pension. He's on a university salary, okay? We got the money. Nobody invites us anywhere.
There
And
you
maybe
go.
they listen to our podcast. Maybe that's the problem.
Well, go online and buy the tickets.
All right.
Hold it while you're talking about tickets. So, for our listeners who want to go to this, ticket price and time of event. What is that again?
I believe at the moment it's $109, and
As a standalone,
It's
But that
a-
includes food.
it
That's
includes
food,
dinner and
yeah.
drinks. Dinner, drinks, a panel, hanging out with all the dinosaurs. It's from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock on Saturday, December 6th. And you can buy the tickets online under registration options at ldishow.com.
is it 109 or 119 or 29?
It
It's
may have
around
gone
there.
up. I
It's
will
around
double
there.
check while we're
Just-
talking.
Just to clarify here, how many drinks can we have? Is there a $32,000 limit on
Yeah,
drinks?
definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to try and figure out what that limit is, though. We're looking for it.
You better
before
start
that
figuring-
night.
Yeah,
Start figuring that one out.
That's a bargain. In Vegas, that's like three drinks.
exactly.
Or one hooker. I mean, come on.
I don't know what that hooker. I don't know what his name would be for $109. Yeah.
His name's Tommy.
Yeah.
He works down at the Starbucks.
There you go. There you go.
Steve we found out last week he had a little situation with the hooker at Starbucks.
It was actually the donut store.
Oh, right.
But prices. That seems like a segue into some of your businesses and some of the things you're doing to make gear available for people.
Yeah, so I appreciate that segue. So I have been knee deep. I had to wake up at 2:00 this morning to get on meetings with our development team who are in Vietnam. They make it very convenient to have meetings with them at 2:00 in the morning. So I have never done anything so difficult in my life, I think, than to build an AI company. And, I'm one of the crazy people in our industry. If you do ever hear my podcast, you know that I am an AI guy. I like to talk about AI. One of the things I did a few months ago is I put on LinkedIn, I think, a couple of times. I offered anyone in the industry who wants help with AI, just how to sort of enter into AI in your life. Bring it into your life a little bit and just at least get an introduction to it. I'll give you a half hour of my time. No charge, no strings attached, nothing. I'll just give you a little introduction to AI. And I got a bunch of people take me up on it. And usually it ended up being an hour and a half, not a half hour. And, one person who I know Ellen knows really well, I don't know about the rest of you, but Patrick Dearson called me like 2 weeks after I did one of those calls with him. And he said, Marcel, you changed my life. I just want to thank you again. And I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah, you wouldn't believe some of the things that you showed me that I've incorporated into my daily life. So, for whatever reason, 8 or 9 months ago, actually, something I've been thinking about for 20 years is how to tackle this cross rental problem. Every tour, every big show, roughly 25% of the gear is cross rented from somewhere. And it's a nightmare, and it's all completely manual right now. Like basically, you're on a cell phone and a Rolodex and just calling around looking for lights or sound or video or whatever it is. And generally 100 calls to get 100 lights. It's a crazy bunch of work to find this gear, especially the past couple of years, as crazy as it's been. And so I've always just thought there must be a better way. So I don't know, 9-10 months ago or something, I got pretty serious about it. And I started really coming up with the concept using AI. Like finally the technology's there. I've been talking with people about doing this for years and years and years. But now the technology was there. AI was the tool we needed. And we started just mapping out what could it look like. And so we've basically built this new business called GearShare. We launched it about a week ago, and we're onboarding customers to it now. We've got, 4,000 or 5,000, 10,000 listings on it today. We'll probably have 100,000 listings on it in the next couple of weeks and over 1 million by the end of the year, I guess. It started where we were pretty focused on just promoting it in the United States, but we already have a couple of European companies who have signed on. We're a global company anyway, so it doesn't matter. And so what is it? Basically, you sign on, you become both a vendor and a renter. And it's B2B only, so it's rental companies only. We won't deal with end users or production managers, lighting designers, etc. Rental companies only, and there's a bunch of reasons behind that. But it's two main sides of the product. One is what we call Gear Sync, which is where you're loading inventory into the system. And it's an AI tool where agents are, you export a spreadsheet out of your rental software. It can have any number of columns. It can be messy. It can be just a complete disaster. And our AI will find the information it needs, which really is just the product name, the category, and the units available, how many units are available. And from there, our AI will then connect that into what we call a master product. So a master product like this is an iPhone 16. Under this, there will be a bunch of listings. So the iPhone 16 is the master product. In our case, it might be a Source 4 LED is the master product. And then there's a bunch of different listings for that master product. There's a number of reasons that we're doing that as well. And so on one side, our AI is uploading your inventory. It's a simple export import. You don't have to especially format the sheet. Our AI figures that all out. And you can import one item. You can import 100,000 items if you want. And then on the other side, we've built something called Gear Spotting, which is basically AI search. And so we're using a total of 7 AI agents. And I was told at 2:00 in the morning that we're probably increasing that to 9 AI agents. But right now we're using 7 agents that do 7 different things during that search. And so, for example, the first one is reviewing intent. Because, like, for example, David, you may just say, I need some Lecos for a show. I want them to be LED, and I need, lenses with zoom. And you might not say anything more than that. You're not putting a name of a product. You're just using either an application or a feature set. And our AI will figure out what your intent is. So we think he's looking for something like this, or, we could list 10 different things that we think you're looking for. So we build out this big bunch of context around what you're looking for. Then we go find it. If you told us a location that you need it, we've got an agent just sorting by location. We've got agents that are sorting based on the dates of availability. And so we will now give you back a result that says, here's all the different listings that have the product that you're looking for. From there, you basically build out what we call a spec cart, which is very similar to an Amazon shopping cart, but you're not buying anything. We're not involved in the transaction at all. We're just introducing renter and vendor and giving you a platform where you can go back and forth a little bit. There's no pricing on anything. So the first thing the vendor is going to do is look at that request and say, oh, David needs 200 Source 4 LED, and we have those available. We're going to put a price. They're $100 each or whatever, and here's the dates. And if you want delivery, here's what we're going to charge, and we'll put a bunch of stuff on there. And I said David, but he doesn't know that you're David, because right now it's totally anonymous on both sides for very good reasons. And you'll get that price back, and you go, $100 each. These guys are crazy. I always pay 75. So you'll reply back to him, and in the comments you might say, hey, this is David, and I pay $75 for these things, and this is a show that's going to run 20 weeks. And they'll go, oh, hey, David, no problem. We'll do it for $75. And you've now matched up that rental online. You haven't had to call 100 shops to figure out who's got it. And that's really how the whole transaction goes on our system. So it's a subscription system, no transaction fees, no rental fees, no nothing. You pay a subscription, you're on it, and you're either a renter or a vendor. And most companies are both. So, yeah.
But who's David talking to? Because you said no end users, no lighting designers. How does he get...
David, in my example, was a rental shop. He's not a lighting designer. So we are designing right now an end user opportunity for this, which doesn't involve any pricing. So the big thing is, and I've talked to the biggest companies out there before we even spec'd out the system, it was very, very important that end users couldn't just use this as a tool to beat up vendors on pricing. So if I had the ability as an end user to go in here and say, we'll only pay $50, who wants it? That would probably be good for the end user, but it wouldn't be so good for the rental shops, and they would hate it and they wouldn't want to be on it. Instead, what we will do for end users is we'll allow David to spec his show based on availability. And so he can go in and say, okay, I need LED Lecos. What's available? I'm going to need 500 of them. And he can see what's available so that he can now spec those products, so he knows that he's not going to have trouble getting them. And then he can send that spec to a company in our system and say, hey, Chris McMean, here's the stuff that I want to get. And GearShare has it available as a cross rental. Just go in there and click this, and you'll send that request directly out to that vendor. So that's how we're envisioning dealing with end users on this, just from a standpoint of being able to locate the gear and spec the gear, but then it gets pushed to a rental company. This is a rental company to rental company platform for sure. It's revolutionary, and I have this disease where I can't just do the simple things that make money. I have to do the really hard things that, make you bankrupt. And I'm just one of these guys, that feels like I need to change the world with everything I do. And so, this is another one of those. And the cool thing about this is it's getting a lot of attention, partially because it's AI, but from our industry, it's getting a lot of attention because it really is something that we've needed. So many companies that I talked to, we did a big demo today for a huge AV chain. And, they said, if you knew how many line items of product we have that we've purchased for a 2-week run every year, it'd blow your mind. And I said, no, it really wouldn't, because I know thousands of companies like that. Like, you should be cross-renting that product for those 2 weeks. It doesn't make any sense at all. And but because there was no easy way to find that product, it's just it hasn't been a good option. So I think what you're going to see is utilization is going to go up from an industry. I think industry wide we're around 35 or 37% utilization generally on inventory right now, and we think that that's going to go up over 50% pretty quickly. which is obviously a big thing for rental companies.
And how do the companies keep their stock up to date online?
So right now, the only way is to use this spreadsheet uploading system, which is called GearSync.
Okay.
And again, it's so easy. Literally export, import, done. It does the rest for you in the background, and your listings are just updated. So generally, we're recommending once a week that people will re-export another spreadsheet and re-import it into our system. The next stage is going to be APIs and webhooks, which are going to be widely available to our top tier users. And that will enable you to just basically connect your system directly to this system, first to get your inventory in, but then secondly, to be able to take, instead of having to go back and forth with people on quotes within our system, it'll just export the quote directly into your rental system and you can manage it there. So it'll be like, oh, David wants, 500 of these things, again, for his rental company, not for his own design. And you can manage it on your own system. So yeah, it's been a lot of work. It's fun. It's tiring. It's very expensive building AI product. I can tell you that. It's already cost us about 3.5 times what we were budgeting to build it. And so, yeah.
I have a question. Let's say I want to get into the lighting rental business and I have $100,000 and I buy, I don't know, 20 Martin whatevers,
Yep.
right? Boom. And I say, okay, I'm going to get onto your system.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 20 of these fixtures, right? And I'm just going to sit there and wait. And eventually someone's going to say from another company, hey, you have 20 of these Max so-and-sos or whatever. Are they available from March 12th to March 20th?
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. I mean, the key is that all that's interconnected. They know if they've been rented out or not, right?
Yep.
They're available,
Yep.
right? And that's pretty cool. And I said, yeah, they're right here. So then I would have to ship those to whoever the main company is or production manager, whatever, right?
Yep.
Or would it go to the main rental company? Or
It depends on how that deal, because the deal is contracted between you and the renter.
Right.
So you guys figure that out off the platform after you've made a deal on the cost of the product itself. Then you figure out the details and you build out your rental agreement off the platform on your own.
How could you be assured that I am maintaining these fixtures well?
Again, that's between you and the renter. So what we do what's called KYC, which is know your customer. So everyone who signs up, we know that you have a real bank account. We know that you are a real rental company. We know that you are where you say you are and who you say you are. And so we make some confirmations so that somebody doesn't just come on here and rent your 20 fixtures and you never see them again. They disappear into oblivion, right? So that's the only thing we make sure of. Everything else is between you and the customer, just like if he walked in the front door of your shop or called you on the phone. You're going to make a rental agreement with him. You're going to get insurance from him. You're going to do all the things that you would normally do. And so one of the other things that I didn't mention is our system also included in the subscription. You can store all of your documents in there. So you can have a sample of your rental agreement. If you're a renter, you can have your insurance declaration page or whatever so that they can see, yep, you're insured. Here's your insurance, what it looks like and stuff. So you can have a credit application in there if it's something you don't want to have to give to them every time you do a new rental or whatever. And then there's things like there's a no rent zone, otherwise known as a blacklist, where you can put vendors and
that's where I would be on the blacklist.
You can put vendors and renters on it so that you don't want to ever see items in your list that are coming from a vendor you don't want to do business with, or you can just block them for 30 days or something for whatever reason. And then there's also going to be, and this was a recent suggestion from a new company signing up to the platform, there's going to be favorite vendors, favorite renters, so that you know that these are your top tier vendors when you're seeing listings. So if I see 20 different Source 4 LEDs and 4 of them I see are from these vendors that I really like, I'm going to probably highlight those ones first and go after those ones first and foremost because I know those people. I don't know who they are, but I know them. They're part of my preferred vendors. So yeah, I think it's something the industry really needs. We're getting an unbelievable response from people. We haven't done any advertising or anything. We've just basically gone out and gone, here we are. And companies are signing up like crazy, and it's working. So yeah, it's pretty fun.
Well, wait, we did a big story on live design. Maybe we get a percentage.
You did. You should. You should. You can have all of
kidding.
my shares if you want, Helen.
Yeah.
No problem.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So am I.
So changing the subject a little bit, Marcel did something really interesting during the pandemic. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Like most people, early in the pandemic, I was like, there's got to be something I can do. I got to help. Like, what do I got? I got a big mouth. What else do I have? That's about it. Looking around the room going, yep, I got nothing. I got a big mouth. And so a friend of mine actually in the franchising business, all of his franchises had to be closed during the pandemic. And he started something similar. And I asked him, how's that doing? And he said, man, we're saving people's lives. Like, people are losing their livelihood on these small businesses, and they're coming in like practically suicidal, and we're helping talk them through these problems and give them ideas and coaching and stuff. And I said, yeah, that's really great. I think I should do something similar. And so I came up with this weekly happy hour every Wednesday, and it was at 5:00 Eastern time. And it was funny because even Bob Harmon was showing up with a drink in his hand most days, and it was only noon for him, I guess. And so some people came every single week, and then there were a lot of drop-ins, and some weeks you'd get 25 people, some weeks you'd get 100 people. And it was just like, sometimes it got a little weird and political, and sometimes it was just a love fest. And, sometimes we talked about whether you should wear 5 masks or 8 masks, and sometimes we talked about why the hell are we wearing masks, And by the way, I remember that particular episode where I got slaughtered, and I think I almost ended the podcast the Zoom call, because it was like, why are you against masks? Are you an anti-masker? And I'm like, Jesus, people.
It really was a lifeline, though, because
was.
like a lot of people, like, my friend Marcia Stern, I mean, people who live alone, who were home and just like no contact with much of anybody. And to see 50 people that like once a week, I mean, people really look forward to this. Like, hey, Marcia, in the morning we'd start. Don't forget, it's today, 5:00.
Yeah. No, it was special. It was an amazing time. I think it kept a lot of us just from being more depressed than we already were, and it gave people ideas. We were always talking about different ideas of things to do and supporting each other on their ideas. Like, remember the crazy Dearson and Gumper thing where they were building hospital rooms out of it wasn't crazy. It was a cool idea. I don't think it got off the ground as well as they thought it might.
Out of
but yeah, they were
containers.
building shipping container hospital rooms. But people in our industry were so creative, and to share some of those ideas on these calls was really a blast. It was so cool.
But it did lead to that September 1st We Make Events event.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Which was incredible.
Yeah, so that was just a particular call where I think someone came on from the UK. It might have even been Steve Warren, and talked about they did this event in the UK where they lit up buildings and bridges and all kinds of things. And I said, really? And they said, yeah, it was called, what was theirs called? Red Alert? Or I think it was called
something
Red
like
Alert.
that.
Yeah.
Red Alert,
Yes.
because the industry, the industry was on Red Alert.
Yeah, theirs was called Red Alert. And so Strickland and I started talking about this restart thing that he wanted to go after. And then somehow we came up with the name Red Alert Restart. But really, it just started out as an ego thing for me, because Steve Warren said, we lit 700 buildings. And I said, wow, that's incredible. We should be able to do 1,500. And he's like, no way. You wouldn't believe how hard it was. We did over 3,000, Ellen. We did over 3,000 buildings, bridges, towers, like just all kinds of things.
Not to mention that hundreds of people lit up their house.
Oh, yeah, that was so cool. It was so cool.
In
the whole
addition
thing
to
was
schools and, all kinds of buildings.
Yeah.
Well, it was, and it really unified a lot of people in a time when they needed that.
Well, you know how great it was for people who were just dying to do a show. Like, I couldn't believe how enthusiastic people were to go and open up some road cases in the shop and drag out some lights and dust them off because they haven't been used in a few months, and go out, put on their show blacks, and go out and do some programming and stuff. They were just so excited to work for free, and it was incredible. It's probably one of the 10 coolest things that I've personally gotten myself involved in, in work in my lifetime. It just, it was a pinch me moment where I remember the night that everything started, and we did that live broadcast with Christian Jackson. And,
Yep.
And when everything started, I just remember looking at my girlfriend and saying, this is the coolest thing I've ever been a part of. Like, this is just ridiculous how cool this is. And it really was, and then the Empire State Building, like, we were in negotiations through Mark Brickman to light the Empire State Building for weeks. And about 2 hours before it lit in red, we got the final approval that it was going to happen. And I remember Cosmo was there for the 9/11 thing. And Cosmo walked.
We did it on September 1st.
Yeah, Cosmo, I remember, walked around the corner, and boom, the Empire State Building turned red, and he was just like in tears. So yeah, it was wild.
It was quite
thanks
something.
for bringing that up, because I tend to forget about it, but I'll never forget about it. It was incredible.
Yeah, no, it was really, really
Unfortunately,
cool.
we didn't. The Red Alert the restart thing didn't go through. Which Strickland worked so hard on that. And it just, our industry's invisible when it comes to the government until tax time, of course. But other than that, we're invisible. We're
Whatever happened, Michael at one point wanted to do like the Entertainment Association or something, so that the next time this comes around, we go in with a warship instead of 50 canoes.
Yeah.
But I don't think that ever took off either. Once business got going again, people kind of gave up on all these altruistic ideas.
Yeah. I remember we talked about that whole program at LDI. We had a panel talking about it. It was
we
Michael,
did.
myself, Robin Shaw. I forget who else was on it. But unfortunately, like all things, when you get back to work, you forget about all the bad times you just went through, and you go back to doing the exact same thing you were doing. As much as we talked about changing, so... Yeah, but no, it was a weird, wonderful, cool time.
David, we didn't talk about this, but you could pick Marcel's brain about the lighting console you want to develop with AI.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, okay. What's the deal? Why don't we have an AI lighting console, Marcel, where you could go in and say, take these fixtures, put them at +8, left 6, spot them down, and then chase them?
So... lighting designers don't want it. Lighting operators don't want it.
Someone's coming out with it.
It's so easy. I mean, that is a no-brainer. You could have a console that programs itself in no time. But, to be perfectly honest, I don't think any of the manufacturers really have the cojones to do it, because if you're the first one, everyone else is just going to say, oh my God, they're just taking your job away. Don't spec that product, whatever you do. And, so I think we're going to have a pretty soft roll into that, where it's going to be like, first, it's going to take away the things that every programmer hates, whether that's, I don't know what it is, because I've never been a programmer, but, if you have to sit there and write code, basically, it's going to take that away for you first. So you're going to go, okay, this AI thing ain't so terrible, because it's helping you, not taking away your job yet. But, the closer it gets to taking away your job, I think the harder the pushback is obviously going to be from the people who are speccing these products. And so it's a weird dynamic between the people designing and building the product and the people speccing the product, that, you step over that line and, you're going to be shut down, and we're going to use your competitor's product. So I don't know. I don't know when that's going to happen. I do know the technology is wildly available out there. Like, that's not even a tough one. So
I know. I agree.
Yeah.
I've been talking about this for years. It's nuts.
Well, the other issue, David, is that there is a large fear and a likelihood of intellectual property theft, basically. So, like, I could, as a designer, walk up to a console and say, hey, can you just copy that look from the Taylor Swift show last year, and it would do it. why wouldn't it?
Or create this cue in the style of Theron Musser's, chorus line.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And this is the problem.
Absolutely.
Because they certainly could do it with music and have been doing it with music.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother
Well,
story.
I don't know if you've messed with it at all, but I don't know if you've messed with the music stuff. It's incredible, the songs that you can make in no time, Yeah,
it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
So other than getting a real job, what advice would you give to these young 18 to 25-year-olds coming to Dining with Dinosaurs?
Well, it's a great question. And Sooner and I talked about this a lot on the podcast that I did. One of the ones I did with Sooner. One of the problems our industry has is just sort of perception. We've got a bad rap in a sense where people think that we're a bunch of gypsies or a traveling circus or something, especially when you look at the touring side of the business. And sure, maybe it once was a little crazier than it is today, but today it's a very solid business. And as a young professional coming into the industry, within no time, you can be making six figures. And, you don't need an incredible education. You don't need a special skill set. You need a really great attitude and, a willingness to work real hard and do some things that are probably new to you and stuff. But so I would say just, be a sponge and listen to their great stories. Listen to people talk about, how their life happened because of this industry, not in spite of this industry or whatever. The industry has created some incredible humans and even a little bit of wealth along the way for some people, not me. But it is a great industry and it's a great way to spend some time, whether that's 10 years or your whole life. You see the world, you meet a lot of incredible people and have a great friend group in the industry. And I would just say, be a sponge, talk to these people. Every single one of the people who will be at Dining with Dinosaurs will give you their time. And I'll tell you, when I first joined the industry, if I could walk straight up to Peter Morse or Howard Ungerleider or, any of these people and have a full conversation with them, that's worth gold. I mean, that's incredible, hugely valuable. So, and they're all such generous people with their time.
Well, Marcel, we're looking forward to LDI, to see you guys there.
Likewise.
And don't get the people too drunk because they need to come to our show on Sunday at, 12:30 or something like that.
12:30 to 1:30, Light Talk.
Oh, you're recording on the show floor?
No, it's in the podcast.
Yeah, we do it in the podcast.
Podcast studio
right,
on
exactly.
air.
We've been doing it for this is like our 8th year or 9th year.
Very cool.
Like that. It's crazy. But anyway, the best of luck,
Thank you.
And really, I think your new idea about GearShare is fantastic. Thanks again, Marcel.
No, thank you guys. I appreciate very much being on the podcast. You guys were on my podcast once, weren't you? I think so.
No.
I thought you were.
We've never been invited.
But no one's bitter.
I thought you guys were on my podcast one time. I'm going to have to go search.
Totally not. You better search it. It's not there.
I bet it's a Geezer or Gear, the Lost Podcast or
the
something.
Lost Files.
Yeah.
The Lost Podcast.
Yeah. There you go.
All right,
guys.
Well, the rocking sounds of the Luminoids tell us that once again you've spent another morning listening to Light Talk. You can hear our show on just about every podcast site out there. Check out our website at lighttalk.org and be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk insanity.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. However,
if you do decide to litigate, you will have to deal with me, Snoot from the Snoot Group. And don't get it twisted. Just because I married one of these losers does not mean I will go easy on you. So don't with me.
This is not the Geezers of Gear. This is Light Talk, written and produced by the Lumen Brothers
And Sister.
coming to you from Long Beach, the Lone Star State, New York, and somewhere in Canada.
And the Caribbean.
Bam. And be sure to join us next week when we talk about more lighting shenanigans and serve you more of our casserole of nonsense.
Light Talk, broadcasting questionable Lumen knowledge and humor around the world.
And thanks again, Marcel, and we will see you all next Saturday morning. Bye-bye from Light Talk.
Bye-bye.